welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Settle in, because today we're diving into a love story that has made fans dream, ache, and smile, a tale that still sparks conversations wherever Turkish dramas are adored. Before we begin, if you haven't yet subscribed, now's the perfect time. Hitting that button costs nothing, but it fuels us to keep crafting these deep dives, these whispered memories, these heart-tugging narratives. Join our growing circle, and let's unravel together a romance that refuses to fade from the collective heart, the story of Erkan and Hazal Sabesai. For anyone just discovering them, Erkan and Hazal Sabesai are two luminous talents who captured lightning on set and somehow managed to bottle it for the world. Their paths intersected on the series Adini Sinkoy, where they brought to life the unforgettable Omer and Zara. The show blossomed into a phenomenon, reaching far beyond Turkey, because what played out between the leads was more than scripted emotion. It felt like a heartbeat shared between two people who truly saw each other. The first episodes arrived like a hush before a storm, and suddenly the storm was chemistry, charged, irresistible, impossible to ignore. From the earliest days, every interview and behind-the-scenes clip hinted at a current flowing beneath polite words. It was there in the way Hazal laughed with the kind of ease you can't pretend, and in the way Erkan's gaze lingered for a fraction too long, as if the conversation never really ended when the camera stopped. They worked with the discipline of consummate professionals, yet the warmth threaded through their scenes felt like light spilling in from something private. Fans became expert observers overnight, tracing the soft edges of glances, the gentle cadence of shared humor, and the quiet mirroring that happens when two people fall into step without even realizing it. At first, the whispers were just that, whispers. People speculated, then joked, then swore they could see the truth hidden in a smile or tucked between an improvised line. When asked, both kept their answers grounded. They were colleagues, friends, partners in craft, grateful for a pairing that drew audiences in. But it didn't take long for the chorus to grow louder. Offset photos surfaced, candid moments between takes, little windows into days that seemed to stretch endearingly beyond call times. A dinner after a long shoot, a shared umbrella on a rainy afternoon, a supportive hand at a crowded event. Nothing outrageous, nothing choreographed. Just gestures that felt suspiciously like the beginnings of something tender. Then came the turning points, those snapshots burned into memory like film left too long in sunlight. There were weekends near the Aegean, where the horizon dissolves the day into the sea, and a hot air balloon morning that had fans convinced they recognized the same sunrise in two separate posts. One evening, they were seen at a small gathering, away from the noise of flashing bulbs, looking at ease in that effortless way you can never fake. The message wasn't in declarations, it was in comfort, in the calm of two people who didn't need to perform intimacy because they were simply living it. When the world began to accept what felt undeniable, the emotion from the audience was a tidal wave. Viewers who had fallen for Omer and Zara now held their breath for Erkan and Hazal. It wasn't just about seeing a favorite couple exist beyond the frame, it was about hope, about the way art sometimes points to the soft truths that shape us. And the way they handled those early revelations was perhaps the most captivating part. No big, blazing announcements, no carefully staged reveals. They moved like themselves, quietly, gracefully, choosing presence over spectacle. If privacy is a luxury in the glittering rush of celebrity, they bought it with kindness and honest boundaries, letting their affection be obvious without reducing it to a headline. Certain moments have become legend among their admirers. When Hazal received a significant industry nod, cameras found Erkan's expression like a beacon, proud, bright, unmistakably sincere. And there were red carpets where they walked the same night, not needing to cling to prove a point, yet always finding each other with a look that said everything. Social posts arrived like breadcrumbs, little acknowledgments of shared roads, a book caption that matched a quote he'd praised, a song she mentioned that later appeared on his playlist during a drive between sets. Small things, perhaps, but love so often announces itself as a small thing you just can't stop feeling. Work never stopped calling, and each embraced it in stride. When Hazal stepped into new roles, lighter in tone or colored by a different shade of drama, Erkan didn't miss a beat, offering public congratulations that felt earned, personal, real. When Erkan took on challenging parts that pushed him into fresh territory, Hazal's encouragement landed with the gentleness of someone who understands what resilience costs. It was a rhythm of support. Steady, synchronous, the kind that helps two people grow without losing each other in the noise. Denise and Koi surged across borders, and the pair's magnetism drew fans who might not have even spoken the same language but somehow understood every beat of their story. Viewers saw the arc unfold like a living romance. Two people meet under bright studio lights, collide in that fragile space where fiction kisses reality, choose each other without fanfare, and then keep choosing, day after day. The plotline that captured imaginations on screen melted into a subtext that refused to stay beneath the surface. As the show's legacy expanded, so did the myth of their connection, a quiet myth, perhaps, but all the stronger for it. Of course, nothing that blossoms beneath constant attention escapes rumor. There were seasons of speculation, moments when silence was interpreted as distance, when a work-heavy schedule became the spark for dramatic theories. Yet time and again, they responded with steadiness. Not a denial shouted over the clamor, but a frame of presence, a reminder that real relationships are built in ordinary hours, not in comment sections. They learned to shield the tender parts, to refuse the pressure to explain what needed no explanation. And when rough patches brushed against their path, the balance they had forged became its own answer. They appeared where it mattered, showed up for each other's milestones, and allowed their actions to speak in complete sentences. Their individual influence continued to grow. Both used the visibility their duo had amplified to spotlight good causes, animal shelters needing hands, community drives that shifted resources where they were most urgently required, cultural projects that celebrated the stories Turkey tells the world. Fans noticed the alignment. The warmth on set mirrored by the warmth off stage, a generosity that made their bond feel less like a fairy tale and more like a compass that pointed to something meaningful. Over time, the relationship seemed to deepen in the ways that matter most. They did not chase the spectacle, they modeled a pace. In a world obsessed with immediacy, they chose the slow build, shared meals, late-night script reads, laughter at the same old jokes, the kind of familiarity that makes everything else softer. They learned to be alone together amid the noise, a rare skill in the public eye. And they showed, simply by living it, that closeness doesn't have to be loud to be strong. If you talk to fans, you'll hear the same theme resonating again and again. The story of Erkan and Hazal made them believe, or made them remember believing. Messages poured in, notes about how watching Omer and Zara heal each other helped someone through a lonely season. Comments about how spotting Erkan at an event proudly cheering for Hazal felt like a hand on the shoulder, letters saying that love, real love, seemed more possible because of the grace with which these two navigated their path. That is a rare kind of influence, one that lingers after the screen goes dark. And then there are the travel memories that drift through fandom like postcards. Those soft-lit snaps from the coast, where the sky turns the water to a sheet of rose glass at dusk. A city abroad where a familiar coat appeared in two different frames taken hours apart, convincing everyone the adventure was shared. Cappadocia mornings with the hush of balloons rising, or evenings in Istanbul when the Bosphorus turned to ink and the world shrank to a conversation. They never needed to label these moments. The implication was enough, two lives, intertwined in ways that didn't require permission from anyone else. As years turned, both stepped into new chapters professionally. Scripts got bolder, characters more complex, the distance between early fame and seasoned artistry measured in daring choices and quiet confidence. Through every evolution, their foundation looked intact. They could stand apart without drifting, return to the same center with ease. When the headlines tried to reduce them to rumor cycles, their work in mutual regard broadened the frame, reminding everyone that the most compelling stories do not exist to be consumed but to be lived. The arc of Erkan and Hazal's connection has always glowed with authenticity. It began in the kinetic spark of two artists discovering a shared rhythm, bloomed in stolen days that came to feel like home, and matured into a partnership that seems to hold the best parts of friendship and love in equal measure. The magic of Omer and Zara lives on precisely because the people behind them honored the same essentials: respect, care, patience, good humor, the courage to protect what is tender. And in a world that often rewards chaos, they modeled steadiness as a quietly radical act. Today, as we look back, we celebrate not only the milestones that fans can recite by heart, but the invisible hours that sustain any real relationship, the thousand little yes, the practice of showing up, the choice to listen without judgment, to forgive without keeping score, to celebrate without envy. They've taught us, without preaching it, that love is an everyday art form, and that the best romances are edited not by publicity teams but by time and intention. So here we are, holding this story up to the light, grateful for the glow it casts. We remember the first glances that started it all, the soft confirmations that followed, the devotion threaded through busy seasons, and the fans who carried the flame with unwavering warmth. We remember how the series that introduced them became a bridge to something larger, a reminder that fiction can open the door, but it is truth that invites us in and asks us to stay. And we can't help but feel that, even as new projects arrive and life keeps unfolding, the quiet vow at the heart of their bond remains, to keep choosing a love that is real, deliberate, and kind. Thank you for taking this journey with us here on Whispers of Turkish Stars. Now tell us, what is the moment between Erkan Merrick and Hazal Sabesai that lives rent-free in your heart? Was it a scene from Adini Sinkoy that first made you believe, a candid glimpse that felt like a secret shared, or a heartfelt gesture that spoke louder than any headline? Pour your thoughts into the comments, we read every word, and your voice is part of what makes this community so alive. If this story stirred something in you, give it a like, share it with the fellow devotees in your life, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss the stories we'll keep whispering together. Until next time, keep your hearts open and your eyes on the moments that matter, because love, quiet, steadfast, luminous, always finds a way to be seen.